Hey everybody, had a lot of requests for a shop tour, so I thought I would walk you guys around and show you where all the magic happens, especially woodworking equipment. I have some friends starting up their own woodworking shops, and they've kind of requested to see what's going on in the Lou workshop. So here we go. We'll start off over on the right here. This is my dust collection system. So this is a big jet dust collector. It's 110 volt. Everything in my shop is 110 volt. I've never bothered to rewire it, although honestly I probably should. This is central. While it is on wheels, you can kind of see them down there. I don't move it. It's been in this spot for about 20 years, quite a bit of time. Oh yeah, hello neighbor kid. Um, the vacuum is actually plumbed into PVC pipe, and you can see quite the few adapters there to get everything down to the right size with flexible hose. There is where you're typically going to collect your sawdust and shavings, but for us, I actually added in a cyclone separator. It's basically a lid that I bought that goes on a old school trash can, metal trash can. And if you look inside, it's set up to blow the shavings in a circle. And when it does that, the heavier stuff falls out and doesn't go into both the filter or the bag. And obviously it's far easier to empty. You can see I spent a little time with some aluminum tape sealing it up good, but it works great. And if you're the kind of person that changes your own oil, cleaning up afterwards with a handful of sawdust and whatever container you're draining your oil in really does a good job. So I use it a lot for that. I clean it out about once a year depending on what I'm doing, or at least this vacuum, this piece I clean out about once a year. And you can kind of tell at the very bottom there, that's a whole year's worth. And haven't been doing a lot of woodworking recently. A lot of other stuff going on. Yeah, this is something, my hat, but this is something I created and actually put a patent in for. And it is a gigantic box that vibrates that I can activate remotely. And it allows me to clean this without having to walk over and do the flipper panels. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Here's my Grizzly 14-inch bandsaw. Great purchase. I actually bought the riser block for it so that it can resaw up to 12 inches. It comes with a cast iron plate there, and it works really great. Very pleased with it. The fence leaves a little be desired, but you can upgrade that if you need to. I built several custom attachments. There's a fence I use for resawing that I just attached to it, and it works pretty well. And then as we progress along the line here is my DeWalt 13-inch planer. Now what I've done for this one, it was a good planer even before this upgrade, but I went a little crazy. I do a lot of work with figured wood, figured maple in particular, building picture frames, and it doesn't work well with straight cutter heads. So this would have 3 blades that are high-speed steel, and they would perpetually get nicked. I could shift them, but it wouldn't really last very long, and I probably replaced them 3 times a year. Expensive, time-consuming, pain in the rear. Never really did figure out how to do it without cutting myself. So I upgraded it, and I pulled the straight cutter head out and put in a Bird Shellix helical cutter head. And I'm not going to take this apart to show you. There's no easy way to see it. But I did the same upgrade on my jointer. So I have a Jet 6-inch joiner, and you can actually see what's going on here. That's what the blade looks like. And each one of those are 4-sided. So you can see there's a little hex key on there, and I can take them off and rotate them. These have been on there for about 8 years on both machines. I've never rotated them. The other thing that's just wonderful, especially on this jet joiner, is that there's no setting the blade height anymore. It used to be a long process. I had a magnetic jig. You can see I had lines scored on where you had to align the jig up, and oh, it was just a nightmare. So now once I installed these, all I do is adjust the outfeed table to the exact top of this, and I'm done. Wow, huge difference, man. The hours I spent putting planer blades or joiner blades on this thing is just beyond comprehension. Much easier to change them over here on that, but definitely a huge upgrade and one I would suggest. Now, you know, if you're building out a shop that money's no object, I wouldn't buy these and upgrade them. I'd buy them with it already. Grizzly makes them reasonably priced. Everything's a lot more expensive than when I bought it. My goodness, the prices have gone up. But I would buy it that way if you've got a choice. Now, if you already have one of these tools, I can't recommend that upgrade enough. It's just made night and day difference in woodworking. And if you're going to do it for any length of time or any duration, it's well worth it. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is kind of interesting. So I have a whole shop air filtration. Got a little pre-filter on the front. Inside is basically a delta filter that literally runs from here all the way to here. It's like a felt sock, multiple panels. And then out here, if you can kind of see it, that's actually a blow-up house blower that I put on there. Lots of concerns when I was doing it around sparks and things like that. They're pretty well shielded, and I've never had any trouble because the air that gets to it is incredibly filtered by the time it gets there. But, you know, it's not hugely expensive if you wanted to buy one of these pre-made with all of the bells and whistles on it. Definitely recommend it. You can see even with dust collection, when I'm sanding, I turn this thing on and it really moves some air. You see more of the PVC pipes here connected to pretty much everything. They've all got a blast gate that I can open and close. Generally, depending on the machine, I can run 1 or 2 machines with the gates open. I usually just one gate at a time. You'll also notice wrapped all around all of this stuff is bare copper wire. Florida, it's not a huge problem. It was only a problem around Christmas when I was making Christmas presents, but they can build up a lot of static electricity, especially, you know, you got dry wood running through PVC plastic. So all of my pipes are wrapped with this, and it's really, I don't get, you know, I used to get a little static spark that would hop off this plate when I opened it. I don't get that anymore. So that seems to be working pretty well. This is a cool idea. I stole it from Norm Abram. Clamp rack. And like everything else in the shop, it's on wheels. And, you know, just a 5-degree angle allows these clamps to just hang on here. So that works really well. I'm very pleased with that. The other thing, if you're buying clamps, you can see some of the inexpensive pony clamps. Good for some stuff. You know, some of the hand clamps, Irwin or whoever makes them. But the clamps that are the best are the K-bodies. The Bessies, or not Bessie, I can't remember the name of the company that makes the clamps. I think it might be Bessie. Yeah, Bessie. So Bessie parallel jaw clamps, they're fantastic. Even better though, you know, if you can get them, are these jet parallel jaw clamps. They actually are far easier to use. Sometimes it can be a bit of a pain to set this in to where it locks if you don't remember which direction you've got to push, up or down. So that's one suggestion I would make. But little clamp rack's been great. Gloves, lubricants, this stuff that I buy all the time. If you live in Florida, this is what I put on all my cast iron. Well, that goes right there. So that's what I put on my cast iron bow shield. Fairly pricey. I think it's, let's see, what was this? Oh, I peeled it off. Probably didn't want my wife to see it. She doesn't watch this channel, so it doesn't matter. I think it's about 15 or 20 bucks, but I spray it on all my cast iron and wipe it off, and it does a good job of protecting the cast iron, but it doesn't leave a waxy film, or at least not as much as just pure paste wax, which most people suggest. The problem I had with pure paste wax is it's hard to get off if you're using something like a polyacrylic finish, water-based finish. It'll fisheye really, really badly. So we've kind of covered all the tools over here. Good tools. I've used them forever. So that's the back side of my shop. The center section is going to be my Craftsman Delta contractor saw. So you can see most of them come with steel wings. I put 2 cast iron wings on it and then shim them flat because they don't come that way. So basically you have to put shims where this seam is, either on the top side or the bottom side, to get them lifted up and perfectly flat. That took a while, and I use Coke cans, just cut out pieces of Coke cans. Another upgrade I would suggest is a zero clearance insert. Most of what I do is the blade's in a vertical position. I very rarely ever move it. So, you know, you have this plate made out of really thick phenolic, and you just raise the blade up through the bottom of it. Now I've also done some other upgrades you can see here. I don't have the splitter that comes with the thing or the cover. My splitter I installed myself, and it comes with these little yellow inserts that go right on the back, and they really stay out of the way, and it does a great job of keeping the wood from clamping on the saw blade as it comes through. That's worked out really well. The other thing I did, since I don't use this saw a whole lot, is I put these link belts on. And this is an example of one, and you can adjust it. But you can see down there that I put that belt on to replace the other one. And what it keeps you from doing is getting flat spots. And you'll be amazed how much smoother your table saw is going to be without all those flat spots in it. You can see that I've also got this connected to dust collection, which works sort of well. You know, it's a lot of wood being cut through there. And then I built this little cage around it, which you can see there might need a little bit better sealing, but it captures 90% of the dust and sucks it up into my big shop vacuum. Coming around here, let's see. I keep all of my flammable stuff in a metal cabinet. It's not flame rated, but it's better than just leaving it sitting around. It's a lot safer. My super high quality Big Lots drill press. It was 80 bucks at Big Lots, and it has actually worked really well. Like everything else, it's on wheels, and a lot of fun. You know, anybody need a 12-inch speaker? This is my wood storage, at least some of it. Don't have a whole lot up there right now, but it's where I keep the really good stuff. Scraps and whatnot go down here. These have been a godsend. These little, they were originally designed for paper. And you can see I keep all of my just small parts, stuff for the cars, grease fittings, washers and O-rings, and just keep it organized where you can find it. There's nothing worse than being in a garage and spending 20 minutes trying to find something and getting frustrated. And you can see I buy these file cabinets. I buy them after their life as a file cabinet is done. They're worthless as file cabinets at this point. The locks are broken. All of the pieces for the storing Pendaflexes and stuff is gone. And people sell them really cheap, and I use them for tool storage. And they work really well. They're really well built. This one's a Han, and this one's a Steel Master, and they've been great for storing parts. Here's my Outfeed table, and it shows my penchant for hating to throw away anything. This is my old dining room table, and I just built the base underneath it and have it spaced up. I am a little taller than average, so you can see that pretty much everything has some spacers underneath it and it is lifted. My router table back here, which is now configured for glass production. I make glass jewelry. Has a router in it, and you can kind of see up underneath there. The router, obviously dust collection with the blast gate. I have collection both at the bottom and at the fence. And here is the bottom piece, and it's just basically a Triton router that's adjustable, so I can actually raise it and lower it as part of the actual router itself. And I just seal it in a box with the dust collection and everything else. Works really well. A lot of people ask me where I make my jewelry. So I make fused glass jewelry, and I do it in my garage. And you can see some pieces here that I'm getting ready to drill. So this is my custom drill press. You can recognize it. It's a drawer slide, some scrap wood, and a router zip tied, or a Dremel tool zip tied. And that is a, believe it or not, a 1mm diamond drill bit. And that's how I drill holes in the jewelry to mount the little, the little attachments that go on there as a pinch bail. So that's kind of fun. This router table actually used to be a PC assembly desk that a friend of mine had, same height as me, so it works really well. I don't have to bend over. And then my compound miter saw, once again connected to dust collection, and a very small pancake compressor for what I used to use for nail guns and things like that, finish nailers. Some yard tools that somehow escaped into my garage. One of my daughters gave me that. Nice. But this is actually how I make the fused glass jewelry. These little things right here. It is a microwave kiln. I fuse glass in a microwave. And if you open this up, you can see this little refractory material kiln is actually lined with silicon carbide. It's the same stuff as on sandpaper. Pretty cool. Put it in a microwave and I can get it white hot, 1,000 degrees. I usually fuse glass around 500 or 600. But here's a piece that's a partial fuse, and you can see it's just kind of melted that glass right to it. Pretty cool stuff. Do a lot of that, a lot more of that these days than woodworking, as you can tell. My shop's been kind of taken over by it. This is just a rolly cart with some tools in it. That's my dad's old Kennedy toolbox that he used when he was working. I repurposed it and use it for all of my stuff. Sanding station, about the only thing not hooked up to a dust collection, which it probably should be. That's my old dust collection system. I use that to clean the car out now. Don't really use that for woodworking. It just clogged up too fast, and you're constantly, either it doesn't move any air, or it was not, whining because it was so full of other material. This actually, the material that made this thing is actually left over from an old computer desk. So that's my planer station area as well. But that's it. That's the tour of the big shop where all of the craziness happens. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope it helps if you're setting up your own.